Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and this is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock, educational channel T23, and then coming to you from YouTube. And we have got our most exciting guest this evening, and I'm hoping that she will introduce herself and start off, if you will, please, by telling people how they can find you.
Okay, my name is Fiona Saxman, and you can find me at susanfionasaxman.com at, I guess, however that is.
At Gmail? I guess so, yes.
Yes,
We're all
at
Gmail
Gmail.
anymore.
My mind went completely blank, as it is known to do. And yeah, I am a clairvoyant, and I work here in Woodstock as well as different countries where people ship me to now and then. And that's what I do. I'm a full-time communicator with spirits, and that's what I do. And I'm an author, and I'll be writing other things too very soon.
I think that's so exciting that your writing career is going to finally take off.
Well,
I think
there's
that's
so
wonderful.
much to write. There's going to be a screenplay coming up, and many things are happening. It's going to be, yeah.
Very good.
Well, we want to keep it real. We want to write things that have, for doing this work for so long, I want to be, I want to present it as not only is it interesting in a metaphysical way, but also scientifically, and as well do it with humor.
Well, you know, one of the things that comes from having done something a long time is there is an inner knowledge it's your basis, it's your experience base. Mm-hmm. And that brings to mind time. I had somebody talking to me this week, and she was talking about time. And you know, we are not on a time machine. So years takes up for the time machine. You can't just get on the time machine and all of a sudden have 25 years of experience.
No.
You have to live it day by day by day, which gives it, I think, a sheen.
Absolutely, and my experiences will be different from another person who may think they're doing the same kind of work that I do, but no one's doing the same. Mine are unique. My experiences are uniquely my way of doing things. And that's why it's hard to say, well, all psychics do things this way, or, you know, it's not all. It's not.
I think everyone does it differently.
Everyone does it differently.
I think the information comes to you, but then it's how you process it.
It's how we process.
That is so different. And you know, when you watch, of course, I haven't watched in years because I haven't really put time in on the television, but when you watch different psychics, you see some of the young ones struggling, and I just want to say, I'm sorry, it's okay, but it just kind of comes to you.
To me, it's like I'm just a receiver of information. I'm actually consider myself a radio. I'm just working at a different frequency, actually. I had a woman today who, just before I came here, actually about an hour before, she said to me, "Does your mind ever stop?" Like, no, I actually don't sleep either. I have to make my consciously effort to sleep, but I'm constantly getting messages, constantly, and I do have to block it out a lot because it's affecting me. I mean, I get up very early in the morning and I want to run. I'm constantly in motion. My mind is constantly in motion. There's not peace, there's not rest. And yeah, that could be a little bit overwhelming at times. But that's always how it's been with me. It's not I don't work the way I do with the spirits and the messages that are coming through. I'm not particularly doing it in a very peaceful manner. The energy that comes through me is more frantic pace, and it's very, very like, very fast moving. That's why everyone who comes see me, they record it. And I say, you must record, because the information is like, it's so fast and so sporadic, and the names come flying, and the images come flying, and the words.
When a person comes to you, and all of a sudden you realize that there's someone or some being there who wants to communicate. Do you find that person visually? Do you hear that person? How do you smell? What?
No,
how do you?
I don't smell them at all. I used to, back in the old days, I would see them almost like solid or hazy solid, like more like spirits that you would see in but through the years, and I blame a lot of it, it's kind of funny, on since the world got Wi-Fi and 5G and all that, now I see things very, very quickly coming. Like the girl who sat down with me today, her golden retriever was hovering over her. I didn't see the golden retriever there with these eyes. I saw them with this.
Okay.
I saw them, I get information in sight from somewhere back here. I don't know exactly what part of the brain that is. Is that the pituitary gland?
Well,
I don't know what that is.
But you know, that's your occipital
seems to
ridge.
come from there. What's that mean?
That's your occipital ridge. That's the base of your skull.
Everything seems to come from this part.
On both sides, or just the right
this
side?
side.
Just the right side.
Yeah. And
that's fascinating.
I would like one day somehow to have some way kind of walk me through the parts of the brain. I should know that by now, but I don't. Sometimes I get clairaudient where it's a kind of vibration. It's like white noise, and then the words come through, and that comes through the left side. All senses are open all the time. Illnesses that people have, I feel them. I feel it immediately in my own body.
Wherever they are.
Whatever it is.
So if somebody has an upset stomach, you feel it.
I feel it. There was, last time I was here, I guess he didn't come yet. The man from Texas, did I mention that?
No.
Back in May, I get an email from a man who, he turned out to be lovely, by the way. There was a man who wanted to see me from Texas. He wanted to drive from Texas to see me. Now, some people may find that flattering. I found it horrifying because I couldn't bear the thought of a man driving from Texas just to come see me. And I wrote to him and I said, please don't just come to see me. Please, because how about if it doesn't work? How about if I can't connect with who you want to connect with? And he explained that his partner loved my book very much, and she died. My book is called The Reluctant Psychic. And I'm getting that clairaudient thing right now. She knows I'm talking about her, Piper. Yes, Piper's listening. Anyway, hi Piper. Yes, she does. Anyway, he said that he wanted to take a chance and come. He says, I understand, but I'm taking a chance and coming. Well, I panicked because I was like, how about if it doesn't work? How about if my brain just shuts down and nothing can come forward? Which has happened in the past. It doesn't happen as frequently, though, as you might think it would. So the gods are with me through that. The man came from Texas, and he turned out to be a total lovely gentleman. And we maybe spent 2 hours together. And his ex, or not ex, I'm sorry, she's not ex. She's telling me she's not ex. Boy, she is here. Oh my goodness, this is weird. The first time I've ever really felt anyone here with me. Anyway, no, she's not ex, he's a widow. But she took her own life in assisted suicide because she was very, very sick. And
okay.
One thing that was very special for him to hear is that that she was still around, and that she was happy that he came to see me, and it just made me so happy that he was satisfied with the reading, you know, and he left and he was happy. And
well, and that was lovely because I've not known a lot of people who have had a family member go through the suicide, assisted suicide, because of illness. But you know, when the person is so uncomfortable, but it's still a hard thing for a person to do and to observe and to participate in. It's it's difficult.
Yeah.
But also the drive from Texas to here.
Oh,
you know, it's like a pilgrimage. People in Texas, just sometimes they just have to drive.
He was a lovely, lovely gentleman. That's the only way I could describe. And actually, he likes our show.
Wow.
He's been watching all the things on YouTube.
How
He
cute.
says. Cutie. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to put that forward.
That's adorable.
But you know, I wanted also to point out something that I was thinking of very, very much when I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today. If a person comes and they have not blind faith in the psychic or whatever I am, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure I want to even use the word. I don't know what I am. Medium, communicator. I call it clairvoyant because it seems like what it seems to be. But if they have faith and they're open to it, the readings are so much better. I don't like people who come to see me, particularly if it's a boyfriend that the girlfriend says, "Oh, you got to go see her," because the person when they're sitting across from me and they're closed like this, they don't really want to be there, and it's like me. I'm literally pulling teeth, trying to get information. I don't have to talk to the person at all. In fact, I don't want to talk to you when you first come in at all. I don't want to know anything about you except your first name. But there is definitely an energy around a person that doesn't really want to be there. Now, this brings me to mind that a few years ago, and many of you know about my New Zealand and Australia adventure, that I ended up going on a trip to thinking I was invited to New Zealand to see their beautiful country, the woman says. I get off the plane and she gives me like a list of 80 readings that were signed up, as well as, group readings, lectures. I spent 2 months sitting in a yoga studio. And I also, from what they told me, I went to Australia for 10 days too. I have no memory of it.
Well, it was to overload.
I was completely psychic overload to the point that I would come home at night and shake.
Yeah.
So this one particular time in New Zealand, this one particular day, this woman had orchestrated this party I was supposed to do that night. That entire day, I was literally throwing up. And I couldn't understand why I felt I had been doing lectures, I've been doing all kinds of stuff. I had headaches, I was throwing up, and I had a complete, almost meltdown saying, I don't want to do this party. I don't want to do it. And she's like, well, they paid for it. You have to do the party. This was, by the way, during the Trump election, by the way, I was there.
Wow.
I was literally in the land down under in another world. I couldn't come home because I had this responsibility to do the readings. So that whole day I was so physically ill, mentally unstable, shaking, a mess. By the time I got to the party, I realized why. The entire family that I was supposed to do this party for, they sat there looking at me like this. None of them were a believer in any of this. She had set me up.
Or she didn't care. Maybe she was just saying.
She was experimenting.
Oh my God.
It was, I felt, and they paid, and they wanted to see what would happen to the psychic. And I felt like I was in a torture chamber. They actually had me, I was sitting there with, like this, curled up, and trying to give information to this whole family that just stood and stared at me. I felt like I was in the Inquisition.
How did it end up?
They said that some things did come through. Some relatives came through, but they were very cold and they were very, the energy was so bad. So that described why I didn't want to go that day, why I was physically ill, because I knew that I was walking into basically a trap.
Yeah.
And I never forgave that woman down there. I did sell a lot of books, though, that day. They did buy some books, so maybe they learned something. But it's stuff like that I think that it's still kind of like, some people would consider what I do a kind of a parlor game, and they want to chip you out.
Well,
it's horrible.
That is a facet.
It was
because
horrifying.
people who are clairvoyants, any person who can read other people, whether it's through cards or past life, whatever it is, there is that parlor game aspect to it. The seance.
Yeah. And a lot of them were not real. And a lot of psychics aren't real. And a lot of it was a carny act. A lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're still going into that. I mean, I still have nightmares. Actually, just talking about New Zealand, my heart's going like this.
Do you ever go back?
No.
Will you go back?
I would go back and try to write the feelings I got from that whole trip, because I didn't see New Zealand at all.
Wow.
It was.
How long were you there?
2 months.
And you went just to New Zealand and then you came back?
New Zealand and Australia for 10 days.
So 2 months and 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took you a couple of days to get home.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable trip, and I don't think I've ever been the same since then. But,
really?
Yeah, I've never been the same. I actually have panicked over that whole. The anxiety.
Have you now? You've gone to England.
No, I've been to England about 40 times.
And that works out very well for you.
I love England. England's my home.
What about Canada?
No.
Have you not been to Canada?
No.
That's interesting. It's just
It's
up the
right
road.
there, no. I've only England is my heart and home. I love the graveyards and the churches.
Really?
And the people. Yeah, I love the people over there. Not the rich ones. Not that I hang out with the poor ones.
That's okay.
Yeah, I love the street people and the punk rockers and they're all like Dickens characters. I love them.
Well, so when was the last time you left this country?
3 years ago, I was in Nottingham, England, where I've been going for the last few years. Just see my friends there. They're like family.
Now, how do you ever see yourself going to Canada?
I have no desire to go to Canada. I don't know why.
That's interesting.
I have no desire. I'm just one track to get to England. England and Scotland. That's home. It's always been home.
What about Ireland?
I've been to Ireland.
But it's not on the list.
It's not on the list. It's my heart is in England and Scotland.
Very interesting.
It's past life. It's to the point of like the soil. It's the ground. I would actually literally kiss the ground. And my father was like that too. My father had that same kind of connection. I've never felt connected here either, America.
And you have not felt connected to America.
Not at all.
And yet you've been in Woodstock for a long time.
I've been in Woodstock a long time because do you know that the Catskill Mountains go right across to the Scottish Highlands? Somebody told me that. I hope it's true.
So that's just part of the straight shot.
Right under the ground. But I mean, it's, yeah. I mean, I'm here for a reason, I think. A lot of things have happened since I've been here. And I think it's just becoming more and more important that I am here for a while, and we'll see what happens after that. But the amount of people coming to see me is absolutely phenomenal. I can't tell you. I'm actually booked now till we're putting people into January. So
when you book,
I don't even advertise.
When you book, of course you don't have to.
I don't know where these people are coming from.
When you book that far in advance, what percentage of them don't show?
Most of them do, except we've had some COVID illnesses, and they don't come. My way of thinking about it, if I'm almost, this is terrible. I'm not a business person, because if a person doesn't show up, I'm always relieved. People say, "Oh, you should get a deposit." No, it's kind of like if you don't come now.
Well, because then you can sit in your shop and relax.
I sit in my shop anyway. It's still a shop, But it's kind of like I just believe that enough is enough sometimes.
Oh, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
It's
when you're
not like I have a
overbooked,
quota. Oh my
somebody
God.
backs out.
No, I just can't do it, and I just feel like sometimes my brain can't handle it. I'm at that point, truly.
Yeah.
I'm too much in another realm sometimes.
Well, that's the wisdom of your experience.
It's so much. I mean, I can't even think of how many people that if I went back and tried to count how many people I've seen since I started doing this, there's got to be thousands and thousands.
Well, sure, because if you see 3, does it happen every day? So if you see 3 a day,
It's not, but it's like
for a
2
year,
at least.
that's 900. That's
Jesus.
1,000 a year.
And some of them are, there's a lot of repeat people. But it's another thing I like to point out, maybe people don't realize, if I know a person too well, if they're friends, can't see them anymore.
I go with that.
I cannot do readings for friends. I don't want to get involved in their personal life.
Right. It's too close.
It's too close.
They can go someplace else.
Yes.
There's other ones out there.
They can go somewhere else. It's just there's a lot of pros. The cons about it all is that it's a lot of responsibility at times that sometimes I don't want to have. The information is not from me; it comes through me, and I'm pretty much, I could only be defined as a spiritualist. I'm dealing with spirits. I'm not dealing with deities. I'm not dealing with, anything, divine entities or masters or anything. I'm dealing with spirits that want to be heard. Everyone wants to be heard. They want to be remembered.
I think that what you do is really, really nice.
Oh, another thing I want to put forward. I was thinking of helping animals cross over. This past summer, my friend has a cat that he couldn't be with when the cat passed. He was too emotional. And I decided I'd take the cat in the vet's and hold it while it passed. And the cat was 21. And at first I thought, I was a little afraid. I've seen animals pass before, but you know what was really sweet? I sang to the cat, and then when it was passing, after it got its, the shot, it started suckling its mouth like a kitten, like it was going backwards. And I suddenly felt like maybe I should propose to help people whose animals are passing. Sit with them. Nobody should die alone. Nobody should die alone, unless they creep out in the woods and want to be alone. But some people can't be in the room.
Yeah, it's very difficult for people with their animals, with their pets.
Because they're innocent. So I was thinking maybe I'd like to be kind of like a pet death doula, animal death doula, too.
Well, I just whisper it, because it'll get out there.
Yeah,
It'll get out there
Put
very...
it forward out there a little bit, because it was really nice. I kind of pictured him to go with his mommy and daddy, where my friend's parents are, and I think it would be kind of nice. I don't want anyone to die alone if they don't have to.
Yeah. That's such a wonderful thing to do, because some people who have your talent find themselves wrapped up in the legal and the police, and that's so difficult.
No, there's been this past week I suddenly found this man who's, I shouldn't even say it, he's a man who's on criminal charges from some kind of politician thing from New York coming, and he wanted to know all the things, what's going to happen to him in court. And I'm sitting there looking at him thinking, I don't really want to tell him any of this, because it's not good. Front page New York Times kind of story.
So what did you do?
I had to tell him as much as I could. He's like, can you be more specific, please? Gangster. When gangsters come, it's always scary. I'm sorry. Little old me sitting there with my little weird dog, and we're trying.
Well, and if they don't like what they hear,
he's really bad gangster stuff. There was a lot of legal stuff this past week, and I don't feel like I don't know.
you'd just rather not.
I'd rather not. That's simply it. I'd rather not. I'd rather not.
I think that's great.
But I did the best I could, But it's
how do you discourage that,
The gangsters from coming?
yeah, I mean, energetically, how do you keep them out there on the other side of the door?
Well, the best way to discourage anyone is my little dog Ghost. If they come in and she doesn't like them and she starts growling and
It's all over.
jumping, it really is over. And that has happened where she's really disliked someone to the point that they had to leave. Right
Go
away.
Ghost.
Ghost is definitely a protector. And there have been times when they really have had to leave.
Yeah.
But the gangster, she had him come in. It was all right, I guess, but not that. But you know, it's so funny when you think about we talked about this once before. This is like an ancient profession. People are not doing this on the computer. I mean, maybe they are doing readings on the computer, whatever. But it's sort of interesting and rather funny that people are coming to consult the oracle. I might as well be in biblical times, in a cave somewhere, because that's what it feels like.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. It makes you, no matter what religion they are, doesn't matter the religion, they're coming.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. I find it very interesting.
That's validation.
It is.
That's validation that what you're doing has got some history to it.
It's got, yeah. And I have images of like maybe past lives doing this in caves, doing this in, you know, the witch sitting in the Scottish forest doing this, probably. I'm doing this again.
That's
Now I'm
wonderful.
in Woodstock, yeah. Yeah. And so far, no one's burned me at the stake yet.
Well,
Yet.
I don't think Woodstock
Yet.
would burn you at the stake, but they wouldn't have any trouble hanging you in effigy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did have that. Last year, I found a dead bird hanging outside my air conditioner. Sometimes I get like a little bit of stuff happening.
Isn't that
It
interesting?
happens. And I know where it's coming. There's a lot of Jesus-y freaky people that live behind my store who have comments and yeah. And Jesus was fine. He'd like me too. He'd come in and hang out, I'm sure, if he was here. No problem with that. But I do have that. I do have that.
I kind of get that feeling. I've been doing some studies in the last year and reading, sticking to just to the party line, just the party line. I get the feeling that he was kind of out there.
Oh, he certainly was. He certainly was. He would definitely hang out with us. Should have him on the show sometime.
Well, how do you connect? Do you connect ever with something like that? Would you ever
St. Francis is my favorite.
Well, now he's the one with the animals.
I love St. Francis. I had a Franciscan friar come in from Brooklyn one day, and he handed me a St. Francis cross. He said he loved my book, and he wanted to make a trip to meet me and give it to me. And I have that in my store.
Oh, that's
It
wonderful.
was very touching. That did something to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Franciscans and the Jesuits. But you know, people's religious beliefs are so individual.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I often think, did God make man or did man make God? Because the thing is, they're all right. Everyone's right about it. We create our gods.
Absolutely.
We do. And they're all right, no matter what religion they are.
Absolutely.
So-
That's very, I really appreciate your saying that, because I'm working on this very simple story that I'm going to be reading Christmas Eve, and the conclusion of that story.
Really?
Yeah. The conclusion of the story is that you're all correct.
They're all correct.
It's all right.
And you know, I have to say, I always knew that. I always knew that. I went to Catholic school, and it was a disaster every time. 3 Catholic schools when I was a kid, and it was horrific. And nuns ran it, and it was brutal. And they didn't like me, and I didn't like them, and I always questioned everything, and they didn't like that. And I look back at that stuff now, and I'm like, I even knew back then that the way they were handling things was absolutely wrong. Animals don't have souls. Are you kidding? How could they say that? And so I went my own way and thought my own things. Stopped eating meat because I realized that animals did have souls. I stopped eating meat at 10, never ate meat again.
How did that go over in your family?
Not well at all. Not well. Especially at that time when vegetarianism was not a cool thing. I was completely, oh my God.
So what did your mother have to do?
Stuff meat in my mouth, try to. And so did the nuns at school. They actually would cut up and try to stuff the sandwiches in my mouth, and I would say no. And I was like, I won't eat this. And I never did. I fought the war on eating meat my whole life. And I'm still here.
But fighting the war against meat, how did your mother have to change her kitchen beyond the fact...
She never cooked anyway.
Oh, she did not?
She was... No.
Who cooked?
No one.
No one?
No one. It was just frozen foods thrown on us.
Then she didn't have to worry about it.
No, but she was not good with my decisions about the meat. And I was a sickly little child, but it wasn't because of not eating meat. High fevers, but high fevers make psychics, by the way. We all know that.
Do they really?
All psychics, even everyone I've heard of, James von Prague, Brian Weiss, and mystics like my favorite, St. Francis, had high fevers as a child. I had high fevers, I had rheumatic fever. I always associate the fevers with this ability to do what I do.
Really?
Always. I always thought the fevers had something to do, like frying something in my head that made this happen. I truly believe the fevers brought on this lovely thing, that my ability to see ghosts.
No, that's very
No,
interesting.
I really thought the high fevers brought it on.
Now, did you have brothers and sisters?
I have a half-sister that didn't like me. Still doesn't.
Did she have high fevers?
No, not at all like me. She doesn't like me. She's 10 years older than me.
Oh, well, that's so... 10 years is a huge...
Yeah.
I mean, that's like two different families.
I'm such an outsider in my family. There's no comparison. And I just did my thing and read a lot and wrote a lot and had my fevers and talked to my little fever creatures that used to come around me and saw spirits all the time, ever since I was a little girl, and wasn't scared, never scared of them. And then I got older, still saw spirits and still felt things around, and I just didn't develop fear over that. I had fear of people. The other children at school sensed that there was something different about me, and I was horribly bullied. Horribly bullied. And so that's why even to this day, I still get very uncomfortable around children. I'm terribly uncomfortable around children.
You were bullied by other children?
Terrible, terrible bullied.
But being bullied by an adult is a different thing.
Oh yeah, well, I was bullied by my mother. Terribly. So I mean, I just, I kind of lived in my head, and that's where I guess I'm still living in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, family life kind of made me the way I am. So I lived here. And I have to think I'm grateful for it that way, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
That's true.
Yeah. So that unfortunate experience made me live in my head. And living in my head opened up these doors.
So what we are saying is your early childhood experience helped you develop this
Absolutely.
career field
Absolutely.
that you have now.
And actually, when I was like around 8 and 9, 10, I started reading books on parapsychology and actually wanted to go on ghost hunting and wanted to be a parapsychologist. And that's all I wanted to do. And my thing was to go to England and explore the haunted houses and the haunted woods and the legends and the creatures and the things that were over there. And that's pretty much what I did.
Is it, if somebody comes to you today and believes that he or she lives in a haunted house, will you deal with
Oh
that?
yeah, I go.
You do that?
I do that. And usually it's just not haunted by ghosts, it's haunted by memories. The emotions stick into the corners of rooms, and if it's not cleared out properly, it's the emotions that are haunting a room. Sometimes it's the spirit, but the spirits are not the soul of the creature, the ghost. The souls usually ascend to a higher level. What you have is like when you hear walking in the house or footsteps, it's almost like the echo of a spirit or an entity doing the same, almost like mechanical things that they did in life. But they're not present really. It's just like the echo of a sound because there is no time. So the past is overlapping into the present. So if you hear footsteps or noises in the attic or the stairs or something, it's usually sounds from a past that's still in the house. Because all time is happening at once, and it's sort of like a heavy presence. What you have to do is clear it with. A lot of times people say, for some reason, I'm not really sure, the purifying sea salt works, and you could use holy water or anything like that, but I think any intention, just your mind, you could do everything with your mind. I'm not a big one on gadgets or tools or talismans. Use your mind. Everything comes from the mind. You say, go, and it goes. That's how it will go. Although I do think if you want to brighten up a place, lift up the shades, get the sun in. Sun, animals, plants, anything that's life enforcing will work. I've had people telling me their children are possessed. Will you look at my child? I think they're possessed. Actually, they're allowing some kind of dark entity in them, maybe, but it doesn't have to be a demon. I've had the weirdest things, honestly.
But now, if
I'm
somebody
like an
comes to
exorcist,
you
too.
and says, I have a child that I believe is possessed, what do?
I've had people bring me their kids.
And then what did you do?
And then usually it's just like it's not that. They just have to like let the light in. And really, sometimes it is, it sounds like an old person thing to say, but sometimes it could be the games they're playing and the music they're listening to. They're constantly having a lot of negative things in front of them. If you're sitting all day playing a game where you're shooting people and blood is flying up all over the screen, that's in your subconscious. So maybe lighten up a little.
I agree.
It really is. And I'm not saying that the people even who made the game are, doing subliminal things and putting something in the game that's going to attack your brain. But I mean, the kids is sitting there and it's getting like, it's like going to sleep at night when you have a horror movie playing on your TV. You can't. Subliminal stuff is going into the brain. The brain is everything. It really is. The brain is everything. So half the time when these people are saying like there's something wrong with the kids, they're not possessed by a demon. They're overloaded with the negative energy, whether it's a video game or the words, the lyrics of some of the music that's been played. It's nasty, negative stuff.
Yeah.
And gotta get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly the most lighthearted person, but you don't want to hear those words all the time.
Right.
So I have particularly a woman that's a lovely woman, a lawyer from Poughkeepsie, whose son was having a problem. She thought it was demonic possession. It's just a matter of fine-tuning what he's listening to, what he's playing, and it changes his whole outlook.
How old was the child?
They're always usually about 10, 11, 12.
How do you talk a 10-year-old
It's very
into?
hard.
Yeah,
It's very hard.
because as soon as you get out of the room, they're gonna shift.
They're going to do it again, you know. But there are some scary children that you see them and they have like blank
Mhm.
eyes, and that's a whole nother thing. I mean, I get scared by not exactly what they've done thus far, but what they're capable of doing in the future. When I feel like the anxiety I feel with some of the kids today is if past, present, and future are all happening at once, like quantum physics, I could feel sometimes what they're going to end up doing. And that's what makes me a little crazy. Kind of see who's going to be doing what in the future. And I try to block those thoughts from my head.
Do you feel like you have some sort of control that you
No.
cannot exercise any
Nope.
control at all?
No control. No
None.
control. I can't stop anything from happening that's going to happen. Not going to happen. When the Twin Towers came down, I knew something was going to happen. I dreamt about it a couple of days before. I saw it, the towers. I didn't actually know it was the Twin Towers. But I saw people. See, this is what happens to me. I didn't see the people doing it. I was one of the people. It's like I always see it from the perspective of the person in it. Sort of like when you dream, do you see yourself in the dream, or do you see you know what I mean? Like I saw myself walking down a staircase in a tower with a bunch of people going down, and a dog was there too. But then I saw the building collapse. So it's sort of like when I do a reading and I see a person dying. I don't see the person dying, I am the person dying.
Right.
It's like at the moment of death, I see what
That's
they
how
see.
you experience it.
That's how I experience. And when I felt the Twin Tower thing, I was one of the people in the tower. But I woke up, that was like 2 days before. No one would listen to me. What was I going to do?
Right.
I had a dream. I was in a tower that burned.
Yeah, right.
No one would ever listen.
Right.
And you
Yeah,
have
right.
to think, how can that be
They
prevented?
would say, "Here's this nutcase out here."
Exactly.
Right. And you weren't the
can't-
only one.
No, and you can't prevent anything like that that's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Right.
So I think that a lot of this stuff is, I hate to say meant to be, but it's all, you can't really prevent these accidents from going on. You know, I have a story in the book, which I might have told you before, about the boy who just got his license. He came to me for a reading, and I looked in front of him, and I felt a crash, and I felt him dead.
Yeah.
And it turned out 2 months later, his mother calls. He was dead from a car, but he wasn't the driver.
Right.
What are you going to say? Never go in a car? And I felt guilty because I felt like, could I have prevented it? No.
You cannot.
He was going to go in a car.
It is what it is.
And it's what it is. And is it destiny? I don't know. Could we change things? Maybe we make an effort of like, if he never went in a car, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But he was going to go in a car.
Well, this is the situation that we are in now culturally.
Yeah.
We have the present and the past and the future, and they're all jumbled in together.
They're all jumbled in, yeah, they are.
And then we have all of these things that are happening, you know, around.
Well, the thing is, there's too much media. We're getting information so fast.
We're all on overload.
It's overload, and sometimes I can't even feel what is in the past and what is the present, what is the future. And it's a bit of a frantic thing now. It is a very weird time to feel this much. And I think I said that before in one of our talks, is that we could probably the best way to do is just make our own little universes, our own little worlds, as peaceful as we possibly can.
Calm.
As try to be calm. Try to be calm. Yeah.
Well, calm is so different for different people. You know, I had a woman tell me one time that she was through multitasking. Well, some people can multitask with calm,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and some people cannot. And some people can experience calm music, and others must have quiet.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's. I guess it depends on who it is and how it. I know. I just read before a client comes. I'm reading books. I'm not burning candles. I'm not chanting. I'm not praying. I'm not doing anything. I'm reading. And then as soon as they come, the book goes down, and I open the door, and there it happens.
And then you open the door, and then you shut the door so that they can't be disturbed.
Yeah. Lock the door, and we're together, and then it happens. The flow comes.
Wow.
The flow comes, and that's how it is. And some people, like I said, if they're more open to it, it works better. You know, the more open they are, the better it is for everyone.
Well, that's true. But I think that you were talking about people. I think that there's a certain type of a customer that comes in and they don't want to tell you anything.
Oh, I don't want anything but their name.
Right. They don't want anything.
No.
And so they don't tell you anything. It's poker face the whole way.
Yeah.
And then when it's over, they are so happy to tell you, "Oh, this was
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
you know."
But it's I always feel a bit like I have to I don't want to disappoint anyone because I always worry that how about if it doesn't work? Because it comes through me, it's not of me. It's so strange. It's truly strange. It's
Well, one of the things I think that makes your job harder is that you don't have any props.
no, it's nothing. I'm just sitting with them.
You know, a tarot reader, they got all these props here, you know. And then there are other people, they throw the I Ching or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all props.
I feel like you really don't need anything. I used to do psychometry, holding people's thing. Well, this week also I had a woman who brought me her dead son's shirt, some of his things, and that's okay to hold. But yeah, it's hard sometimes.
When you are given something that belonged to someone,
Their energy's still on it. Particularly
how long
clothing.
does it stay?
Clothing. By the way, most people with the dead, people who've passed, really don't want people to give away their clothing.
Really?
They always tend to, just from my experience, they tend to say, "Keep my clothes." And I
Really?
think it's because the clothes, because it's made of a porous material, keep a lot of their energy.
Really?
They tend to, just about everyone who's ever brought a shirt, or particularly a young person, always says, "Keep my clothes."
Is that interesting?
Yeah. So he said he wants the mother to keep all his clothes. But because it absorbs pillowcases, sheets, any bedding. Unless you really don't like the person, then you get rid of it. Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, some people like to turn the room into a shrine,
Yeah.
which is good. That's okay.
I like it. They seem to like that.
Yeah.
They seem to like it. The thing is, nobody wants to be forgotten.
Right.
Nobody wants to be forgotten. Dogs don't want other dogs wearing their collars.
Right.
They don't. Everybody wants to be remembered, even if it's a material thing. And just getting rid of stuff that was precious to the deceased is not good. And they do like, I mean, cremation. I know a lot of people do cremation, but a lot of people are happy with being buried in the old-fashioned way.
Really?
Because it's nice to go to be visited. I know that a lot of times we've always heard recently too that it doesn't matter, it's not me there anyway, but you know, it's a pilgrimage place.
Yeah.
I know I like to go visit my person I love in England.
Yeah.
And it would make a day of it. So it makes it nice.
Well, different cultures do different things. I know that when I lived in Virginia, there was a cemetery in Fairfax, and it was really a lovely cemetery, and everything was, you know, in the DC metro area was all orderly and everything. And there was, and I would drive past the cemetery, there would be a woman sitting in a chair under a tree.
Yeah, she's finding peace and comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was the only one there, always. I never, the whole cemetery, only saw one person that did that. And I thought, how lovely.
I find great comfort in cemeteries. I love going to cemeteries. The old ones, particularly. My favorite, I might have told you, I was in Scotland a couple of years ago, and there was a grave. Everybody, you know, these wonderful monuments with weeping angels and all kinds of stuff. Then there was one woman who passed in 1945, and she just said, "I'm fine." I love that. I'm fine. Her name's Edith. Edith was fine. And I just love that. It was just like, "Oh, I'm fine." Everyone was like, "I'm with the Lord, you're with the Lord, and it's God's hands." Hers was, "I'm fine." And I kind of love that.
Yes. Well, what about time?
I can't, the time thing is so weird to me.
It's getting
so
weirder.
Weird. I don't get this. How could this even be September 2nd right now?
Yeah.
I was just looking forward to summer. What happened?
Right.
I don't know. And then what I say, past, present, I tell this to everyone now. The only reason that predictions are accessible is because they're already happening on another plane. Another plane. Because
you could not access them if they were not happening.
They're already there. They're already there. And it's not like I'm doing any kind of magic trick or sitting there doing any kind of alchemy of any kind. They're already there. I'm seeing something like on a screen that's already being played out. That's the most probable reality.
Now, when people visit you and they want to meet they want to see their relatives again, that's not the same thing as seeing something in the future.
So usually, and this is an interesting thing to think about, because usually when a person comes in and sits, as soon as they walk in, there's the spirits around them who want to come through. And sometimes it's not who they want to talk to, which is kind of disappointing for them, because they can have an obscure uncle that nobody really cares about, but he has a big mouth and he's pushing his way forward. It's usually humorous though. And they like him, but it's like kind of funny. Like Uncle Joe just pushes his way forward. But the feeling is so interesting because the spirits are the center of everything. They are the ones that want communication. They want more communication with us than this person who's sitting wants with them. The spirit, we're not calling anybody down. They're already here. That's the other thing. I'm not doing any kind of necromancy of calling people out of the ethers. They're here already.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a client, because when you come in for a reading and you've got this cluster of spirits and you've only got so much time, so have you ever had anybody that said, okay, there were still some people who wanted to visit and could not, I'll make another appointment next month until we see them all?
Yeah. Well, but some people just don't want to come through because they're done. It's quite common for them to come through and say, I don't want to come, or I'm in another plane. If there's a resistance from the spirits, they're done. They just don't want to come through.
But you have had people that are willing to have several visits to seek out.
Yeah. And at that time, if the person doesn't come through, I'll say something, maybe bring a picture of them. Maybe bring a picture. Something to connect more, something, a piece of jewelry or something that they own. But you can't force anybody to come.
Or have you ever had anybody that said, well, you know, whoever's here, I'll just...
Yeah, most people are like that.
But those people are not the same ones that want to know what's going to happen in 6 months.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's everybody. It's a free-for-all at this point. It's everything comes through, and it's but you know the other thing I want to mention. I know she said this 5, but one of the things that it's sort of interesting to me is like when I'm doing the reading with the client, I tend to have their memories too. I see them as a little kid. I see them as middle age. I see them through their life. It's sort of like when I mentioned about being in the body of the person at the time of death. It's connecting with a person on a level where I'm seeing them as a child. I remember, like, I'm in them, sort of. I don't know how it happens. I don't know.
Oh, we've got 4 minutes left.
4 minutes, that's what.
Boy, this has been the most interesting.
And on that, let us think about that, because I don't know what I do. I don't know what I do. I just do it.
I think maybe what I'll try to do is bring a drawing of a brain.
Oh, find out what this is.
Yeah, okay. We'll work on that
here
to figure out what's physically happening. I do know that we have a couple of visits planned because we went through several months where the schedule was mixed up, excuse me, and we didn't have this lady. But now we're going to make up for some lost time.
I've had in the past, I've had a neurologist once say, I'd like to do a PET scan of your brain. In a leering, wolf-like way. And I thought, no, maybe not. But maybe. I don't know.
If you don't have anything else to do, you know. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time here in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And then we'll see you on YouTube.
Thank you.
Oh,
thanks for having me.
And you've got YouTube with Let's Live with Thurman Greco, but don't you have your own YouTube channel as well?
I think I'm up there a lot.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of me.
That's good.
There's a lot of me.
The more there is, the more the merrier, girl.
There's me for many years going, and I'm around. I'm around.
Yes,
okay.
That's what it's for.
I'm around. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ellen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.